Welcome back to the Lead Automation YouTube channel. If you want to learn more about what we do, check out some of our other videos because we've done the intro a lot. Let's get right into this thing. Today we're going to discuss what to automate first. So you're a manufacturer, maybe you don't have anything automated whatsoever and you are looking at what to automate, right? You have no clue where to get started and you're looking at all these different processes and you think this one might be good to automate, that one might be good to automate, and kind of struggling on what thing you should focus on first. And I would definitely highly suggest get a systems integrator involved or somebody with automation experience because they'll definitely be able to help you out with that. It may have organically just grown your automation, your manufacturing equipment by necessity. So we need this piece of equipment to do this new product, or we can't do this process if we don't have this other thing, or we know it's gonna save us X amount of time if we buy this piece of procurement. And a lot of companies start to get automation and manufacturing equipment through those necessity type of needs, and a lot of times it might be a sales guy coming to you and selling you a product. Well, when it comes to automation, a lot of times there's not a guy selling you a product because a lot of systems integrators like us, we don't have a product. Some companies do have a product, some system integrators, but for us, our product line is custom applications. It's palletizing robotic systems, robotic weld cells. So our systems are different. They all generally have a robot in it. They're generally a robotic cell of some kind doing packing or something, right? But we're not going to come to you guys and just sell you a product. So you'll never really see an integrator knocking on your door saying, buy a robot, right? Because why would a manufacturer ever just buy a robot, right? It's our job as a systems integrator to help educate you on what to automate. So the question is, what to automate first? What manufacturing process to automate first? What should we automate first? These are the questions you're probably asking yourselves. And one of the first things that I will say is to automate easy, right? Don't take super complex tasks and try to automate them. And you can't necessarily think of them as what's complex for a human versus what's complex for a robot, right? Because maybe for a human, picking up a box all day that weighs 50 pounds and putting it down is complex or hard. But when I say complex, I mean complex, right? It's very intricate. A lot of those processes can be also very difficult for a robot. So if it's very difficult for a human, it may also be very difficult for a robot, unless it's something like just the weight of something, if it's just a hard job. But if it's a complex job, then it's also probably complex for the robot. So by choosing a process that is simple, let's go with palletizing, right? You're picking up a box, you're putting it on a pallet. Palletizing is a great place to start when it comes to automation because generally, if you have products in a box, you have multiple products in a box and you're always running boxes through that system. You always have 1, 2, 3, 4 employees that are just stacking boxes off of the end of a conveyor belt onto a pallet or something of that sort. Or, they could be bag palletizing, all different types of palletizing, right? But the point is like choosing something that doesn't have a lot of intricacies because one, for systems integrator, the application could be much harder, right? And if you have a skilled integrator who has a ton of experience in doing custom applications, then they will find their way through the project. They will execute on the project and give you a good final product. But that system might be more expensive. Maybe it needs bin picking vision systems. Maybe it needs just a vision inspection or vision location system because it's hard to locate the part without a vision system. And these things are adding cost to your application. Whereas, like, let's say for instance with palletizing, right, there's nothing super complex about that, right? Even if we need to measure the size of the box, we can do that with small, cost-effective lasers that don't run the budget of the project into the sky. And so this kind of brings me into the next part, which is the risk part of it, right? So the easier the application is, the less risk that is involved with the application, right? There's some applications that you may try to automate and they could end up being a failure. Or it might be an R&D type of project, and why do an R&D type of project that has a higher percentage for failure, right? Every project, no matter how easy the project is, has a percentage of failure, no matter what, even if it's box palletizing, which generally is not going to be a failure, but there may be some odd, weird thing that makes this one particular palletizing thing a failure. So just keep that in mind is like if you're dealing with intricate parts, or if you're dealing with 50 different SKUs of parts and one's a circle, one's a square, one's a triangle, one of them has 50 details on it, those things are making it very complicated for a robot to handle, and it's increasing your likelihood of risk, of failure. And especially whenever it's your first automation process. You don't want to deal with that. It also makes it much more difficult on your employees for managing the system after the system's installed. So if you have 20 different part numbers, then maybe it runs fine on part 1 through 10, and all the others are just here or there, whether it can run well or not. Or, I mean, let's just go a little bit more realistic. Maybe you have 10 part numbers, 9 of them run perfect, 1 of them runs like crap. But maybe that one that runs like crap is one of your highest volume parts. And that, you know, that's another thing to mention for another video, but you definitely want to focus on the products that run the most, which is one of the other points in this. Make sure that you're choosing the product that runs and runs full time. If you have a product that runs full time, and this is something that is hard for a lot of manufacturers, they don't output enough product to elicit buying automation, or it makes it much more complicated where you're trying to make this one piece of automation work for 5 different tasks because this one product, maybe it only runs 3 weeks of the month or 2 weeks of the month. And then you got to find something for that system to do, or be willing to accept the fact that system is sitting there for 2 weeks out of the month doing nothing, which generally your investors of your company, your business owners, don't care for that. Now, when it comes to ROI, if the ROI is there and it's still, you know, helping with labor shortages or helping with reducing the number of employees needed to do a task, it may still be worth, you know, letting that piece of equipment sit for 2 weeks. Or if it's handling like a high inflow of work where you get orders that just max your entire team out, you don't have enough capacity, and then things go back to slow again. Well, at least it helps buffer out and have a nice, more stable period of time when you have those high inflows of work. So, you know, those are times to think about it might be okay to let a piece of automated equipment sit on your floor. And this brings us into the highest ROI. You want a system that has the highest ROI. There's so many times that we get taken to a process and our customer says, hey, we want you to automate this process. And as we're taking our walk back to that process that they want us to automate, we see 6 other things that were much better to automate. And what we'll see with that is they take us back to this piece of equipment. There's one operator that works 3 days a week. They say, oh yeah, we run it 24 hours a day for 3 days a week. And that gets us back into that same scenario we just had a second ago where your piece of equipment's sitting on the floor for 2 weeks, right? You don't want any downtime for your automation. So man hours or the number of humans that are doing a particular process is one of the things that you want to target first. You want the highest amount of man hours or people on a particular process. So if you have a line that has 5 human employees doing a process and it's easy, it's just picking this up, setting it back down, picking this up, setting this back down, and that's all they're doing, that's probably a good place to start with automation. Let's say, for instance, something like this. If we just need to pick this up and set this back down, right? Super generic, right? That's not an operation that you would ever actually do. Maybe it's pick and pack. Maybe we're just picking this up and we're putting it into a box. And just let's go with some rough numbers. Off the top of the head, let's say, for instance, it's somewhere between $250,000 to $1 million. Maybe let's tighten that up a little bit more. Maybe $400,000 to $600,000 system that you have there. You have 5 employees that are operating, right? And so you take their salaries, you take what all the other expenses that go into having an employee. Let's say it gets you to $50,000 of cost per employee. 50,000 times 5, what does that bring us to? Like 250,000, right? So now you have an ROI in essentially 2 years of an application that costs $500,000. This is something that's different for every company. What is your ROI standard? Are you looking for, you know, a 6 months ROI, a 2-year ROI, a 3-year ROI? And there's definitely a scale of what customers are willing to accept. Obviously, everybody would love to have a 6-month ROI, right? We would automate everything we potentially could. But some things take bigger initial investments, which take longer to pay back. Let's take that exact same scenario. Maybe there's 10 employees on that project, and let's say it costs $700,000 to do the operation. Now you just took what would be $500,000 a year in salaries, a $700,000 project. Now you have an ROI at what, a year and a quarter or something like that, just for some quick numbers. And that is a much more valuable thing to automate than, let's go back to the line in the back again. It has 1 operator. They work 3 days a week. The cost that's being associated with that process is $20,000. If we put a robotic system on there, let's say first we could do it very affordably and we did it for $100,000. Even at that, you're still looking at like a 2.5-year ROI. So definitely keep in mind on the amount of resources that are going into a process. And that will generally help you find the places to automate first. So let's go over this one more time. Let's keep it simple, avoid risk, and go for the highest ROI. Now, if there's anything more specific you'd like to know about, if you'd like me to target any particular aspect of this or any other automation topic, just put it down in the comments below. Or if you have any other thought that could help other individuals, drop it down in the comments below. The whole purpose of this YouTube channel is to educate individuals and help them through their manufacturing process and help them grow their manufacturing businesses and educate them on automation processes, and how to get into this industry. Thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll catch you on the next one.